Okay.
You're good, Malik.
Yep. Hey, good evening, ghouls, goblins, witches, and warlocks, and welcome once again to the secret underground base of the Agents of Hell and tonight's Walking Dead special. This is the show that gives you all you need to wow your vampire cult club, Twilight book group, and fellow horror nerds with a deeper understanding of the world of the dead, all in under 30 minutes. I'm Malik, and I would like to introduce the rest of my podcasters today. We have Johanna
Hey.
and Lorenzo,
Uh,
and of course, Joe.
What's up, people?
And before we jump into our main topic of the discussion, I'd like to give the stage over to Joe and Lorenzo, who have a quick review of John Wick, new movie that just released over the weekend, starring Keanu Reeves as a man on a mission. So, fellas, take it away.
Hey, I'll jump right in. You guys remember the meme, Sad Keanu? It's
Oh, yeah.
basically just a picture of him eating a sandwich on a bench. Well, we get about 20 minutes of Sad Keanu, but instead of eating a sandwich, he's burying his wife. That's the way the movie starts, dark and gray. But, I mean, who cares about your wife, Keanu? I hardly knew her, so it's hard to empathize much with the morning Keanu, who honestly doesn't look all that different from confused Keanu, or flying Keanu, or whoa Keanu. So, thank God for the puppy. Her name is Daisy, and what she does is she represents a new hope for our hero, a chance for him to put his mundane life back together again. His wife somehow sends him the dog from beyond the grave. I don't know if it was in her will or if there's a service that delivers dogs post your mortem. Anyway, we see them bond, we see them race cars together, we see them buying gasoline for said car, and we see everybody's favorite punching bag, Theon Greyjoy, talking Russian and being an ass, and then, spoiler alert, killing the dog. John Wick's dog. The same John Wick who once killed 3 men with a pencil. Shout out to the Beeper King, by the way, Dean Winters, who I would have liked to have seen more of him, but in this movie he plays a toned-down version of himself. Anyway, if you saw the trailer, you already know, yes, this is a revenge flick. Yes, it's a revenge for a dog flick. You may say that's stupid, and, well, you'd be right if this was the regular universe, but it's not. It's a universe where the Russian mafia unloads cars at a chop shop owned by John Leguizamo, and the Brooklyn Promenade is somehow right next to a vet and a helicopter landing pad that seems pointlessly remote. I mean, aren't helicopters designed to pick up people pretty much anywhere? And what looks to be the Flatiron Building is actually a hotel for assassins whose currency of choice is gold bullions. Johanna, gold bullions are a thing, right?
Oh, yeah, totally.
My point is that this is not no ordinary New York tri-state area. It's a magical place where puppies can end drug empires and everybody, absolutely everybody, gets shot in the head. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you can admit, yeah, I'm thinking Keanu's back. Joe, what do you think?
I'm thinking Keanu's back too, and I enjoyed this film. One thing I know you didn't mention in your review is that I want to touch on is the actual fight scenes in the film, choreographed very well. The way they mixed in close quarter combat with him shooting, so it's kind of like it's a gun fu. It is what it is. He basically is fighting. Huh? That's right. He's fighting. He's fighting, and then somehow he turns the gun is like a third fist. I mean, he just like bam punches the guy in the face, then boom blows his head off. So
everybody's head off.
Yeah, everybody's head off. And you know, as somebody who's owned dogs in his life, I know if somebody hurt my dog, I'd want to get some revenge. And in this case, they killed his dog. So not only did they kill his dog, they stole his 1969 Mustang. I believe it is a Mustang, which was a classic. So he's had 2 reasons to go kill these guys. That's more than enough to go take down a drug cartel, a Russian drug cartel at that.
Yeah, not to mention he's Theon Lovejoy.
Yeah, and that guy, he plays exactly, when I say he plays the exact same character he plays in Game of Thrones, except he speaks Russian and he's got more money. That's about it. I mean, his family doesn't live, in a castle by the water, except they live in a high-rise, in the city.
And his father acknowledges him as his son.
Yeah, and he also hates him too, right?
Yeah, pretty
His father hates him in this movie too, and pretty much gives him up. So yeah, again, if you haven't seen John Wick, I totally recommend it. If not, just for the action alone, which again, like Lorenzo stated, picks up like 20 minutes into the film, then it's balls to the walls from there. And Adrian Palicki's in it, who I like very much, and you'll see her starting in Shield. I believe she started last week on
Miss
Agents of Shield.
Perkins.
Miss Perkins. And Ian McShane was in it as well. You probably saw him most recently in Hercules. He plays the older member of Hercules' clan, gang, whatever you want to call it. But,
And the Hobgoblin.
And the Hobgoblin, yes. So, yeah, again, I recommend it. Go see it. Why are you still listening to the podcast? Go see John Wick.
Wait. Don't get carried away.
So what's next, Malik? We're talking some Walking Dead. What's going on?
Oh, I thought you guys were still
Wake
going.
up, Malik. Wake up. Come
I
on.
heard, I heard
Zombie over here?
I heard Lorenzo going. I heard Lorenzo, going further into it, but no problem. So, speaking of dead gangsters, wives, and beagles, our recent episode of AMC's The Walking Dead gave us a lot of slaughter and mayhem, along with a few revelations and the death of a beloved character. Bob's gone, and everybody wept except me, because Sasha's single again. Rosita left the group, and that loud cry that you may have heard from the East Coast was Joe weeping. And we got a few little tidbits, and it seems like every episode gives us a few little tidbits of things that we can kind of take with us and look at past episodes, current episodes, and the future of this show. So,
Hey Malik, you want to just do that? I'm sorry. You want to just do that part again? There was like clicking and phone going off and all that.
Which part? The whole starting.
Like right around where Joe is crying.
Okay.
You
All
might
right.
as well start from the beginning then.
All right. So
Yeah.
I'll do that whole scripted part again. All right. So speaking of dead gangsters, wives, and beagles, our recent episode of AMC's The Walking Dead gave us a lot of slaughter and mayhem, along with a few revelations and the death of a beloved character. Bob's gone, and everybody wept. Well, not me. Me and Sasha single again. Rosita left the group, and that loud cry you may have heard from the East Coast was Joe. And as usual, the show gave us a lot of things to think about. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Lorenzo to kind of take us down the path of reviewing this episode from a Agents of Helm perspective. So Lorenzo, go right ahead.
Okay, so this episode was entitled Four Walls and a Roof. So that got us thinking about what exactly shelter means to Rick and his gang of merry men and women. From the beginning, Rick has been fighting his way out of sticky situations, but many of these would have been considered places of safety. The series, in fact, starts with Rick waking up in what's supposed to be one of the safest places you can be, a place for healing, a hospital, only to discover he's surrounded by zombies, and he's got to fight his way out. And we see this play out again and again. Someplace safe turning to running and killing and dying and whatever it is you call it when you kill a zombie. Do you call it, is a zombie dying when you kill it? It's already dead, right? I don't know. Anyway, Rick et al. They are constantly fighting their ways out of situations where they are putting themselves in voluntarily, hoping to find safety, hoping to find refuge. I mean, we even see them going to the CDC and having to leave with a big explosion. Obviously, there's the farm. They were there for a while until the zombies overran them, and that was one of the craziest shootouts of the show's history, where they're driving around, getting headshots on zombies while they're like waving a gun out of moving cars. Definitely, every time they end up somewhere. For any duration of time, there is hell to pay, and somebody usually dies from the group. And we see this happen again and again. Joe, would you agree with that assertion? Oh wait, I'm sorry. Am I supposed to throw it to Malik? Malik, would you agree with that assertion? Is assertion even a word?
Assessment, I would say
I don't
assessment.
think so.
With the assertion.
Assertion.
Hey, I'll allow it. Put it that way.
Huh.
Yeah, Lorenzo. Actually, it's interesting that you that you mentioned this because one of the quote unquote shelters that they try to find sanctuary in is a prison. And of course, it's interesting that this is a quote unquote sanctuary for the group since its normal use is as a tool to keep its inhabitants inside, not keeping things from coming in to where they are. And it's a very interesting dynamic in there because the prison itself, first off, it's run down. It's not really livable in the sense that you don't want to be in a prison in a normal situation, um, but in this situation it works out perfectly. There's running water, there's food, there is, and albeit perishables, all non-perishable stuff. But there's land, and it's all gated. So the initial thought is that this is a place that you can kind of hide away from the rest of the world, and the rest of that world being all of the dead people, and be able to kind of build some kind of life for yourself. But very soon after they get started in there, they start realizing that this is not the place that they believed it would be. Even before, we go to the shootouts with the people from Woodbury and all that. Just the fact that their land that they cultivated for crops begins to fail on them, or just the fact that it's being infested with rats, and their mere presence is also bringing the dead in on a relatively regular basis, and it's destroying their land. So they continually have to venture out into the areas rather than just being able to stay there. And then of course, when people find out that there's a prison and that there's gates and that there's the possibility of a life beyond having to run around from zombies all the time, people just want to take it. And I think that's one of the things that we see a lot of is that when we get to this situation, that we're in with this zombie apocalypse, the living people are in such a hurry or such a rush to get to a place of safety that they're willing to put everyone else at risk in order to get it. And that's a really, really insane way to look at survival, is that it's survival of the fittest, but it's also, I don't care about my fellow man, only if it means that I can live another day. So
I know you agree with that philosophy 100%, Malik.
absolutely, absolutely, I have no problems with that dynamic. It's perfectly fine by me. So Joe, I'll throw it over to you. Your take on that statement.
Well, I'll take it from the perspective of their journey to Terminus. We spend the whole second half of season 4 trying to get to Terminus, where they believe they will be safe once again. Only to find out they're going to be the next meal on the menu. I mean, next thing they know, they're thrown in a train car waiting to be served on a silver platter. They again end up fighting and shooting their way out of what they thought would be a safe place. So I really think when after that Terminus experience, I think they come to the realization that there is no place safe. There is never going to be a place they could call home again. So they no longer see homes, just shelters for possibly the short term. They'll never have that feeling of safety that a home provides. A place is just a place. It no longer has significance, and that's what I feel like when Sasha walked into that church, and Gabriel says to her, "Oh, this is a church," and she's like, "No, it's just four walls and a roof," because that's to them that's all it is. It's just a place to lay down for a little while, feel it just get some rest, not even feel safe anymore because no place is safe. Again, when after they get there, I know Johanna's going to talk more about the church, but again, there's no feeling of home anymore. There's no safety ever again for them. Johanna?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the church. So traditionally, churches have been used as a place of sanctuary. For example, a lot of undocumented workers and undocumented immigrants have been going to churches, and the people in the church kind of protect them from being taken by ICE into detention centers. A lot of churches were sanctuaries for slaves on the Underground Railroad. They were stops on the Underground Railroad. So there's this very a church is a symbol of sanctuary. But as we know in the first episode, there is no sanctuary. The A team is going in there with no sense that this is a sanctuary at all. So they meet up with Father Gabriel, and we know that there's mysterious reason why he's alive and clean and hasn't killed anybody technically, and the gouges in the walls and the notes. And so we find out in this episode that he closed up the church and he did not let anybody in.
Totally
And
called it,
people,
by the way.
hmm?
I totally called it.
Good job, congrats. Um, so people were trying to scratch in. He had to hear the screaming, the women, the children, the men. And when he talks to Rick about it, he says, "I think you're here to punish me." So there's all this violence that has been going on outside, and the church has been a sanctuary for him, but at the expense of all this violence that has literally occurred at the threshold of the church. So we get to the scene, and they don't even react. That was the one thing about that scene. They're kind of like, huh, you're kind of a horrible human being, but so are we. So we get that scene, that pivotal scene, where the Terminus cannibals, led by Psycho Gareth, come in, and the baby cries just like we feared, and they're about to open the door, and then Rick comes out of the shadows, and they realize that they've got all these guns trained on them. So, Garrett's pleading, blah, blah, blah. Rick is not having it. He's like, I told you we were going to use those weapons to kill you, and that's what we're going to do. And probably one of the most brutal scenes of slaughter that we have seen the A-Team be a part of is what happens. Like, there's a lot of blood, there's vessels, there's tissues coming out. Maggie and Glenn are freaked out as all fuck. Like, they're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what have these people specifically become? And at the end, there's just this scene after Maggie says these are just four walls and a roof, where you see all the blood and the viscera at the altar, so making it even more creepy. And you realize that the violence that Father Gabriel was trying to keep outside of the church is now inside the church, and the church is no longer even like a shell of a sanctuary, and he has indeed been punished for what he has done.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that to go full circle with it, that statement of just being four walls is so powerful throughout the show, and it really really resonates with those characters at this point. That even as they venture as Abraham and his crew venture off to DC, there's still hope in that group that's in that
Mm-hmm.
bus heading up to DC, and it's all led by Abraham, and I'm sure that there's some skepticism from Maggie and Glenn who have lived through everything that they've lived through, but there's some hope, and obviously the rest of them. In the fact that they didn't all just pile in the bus, or that they didn't all just decide the very moment that they saw that they reconnected with Daryl and Carol, were going to just head right up to DC. I think they all realize as well that everything is not what it appears to be, and a church isn't really a church when it's when you're living in this world. A prison is not really a prison. A sanctuary for survivors that Terminus was supposed to be is not really what it appeared to be,
A
and even
barn is not really a
exactly
barn.
nothing is what it's supposed to be. Nothing is what it seems. So that's definitely what we take from this episode, and Any last thoughts about like, where we're going from here, fellas?
Well, I'd say it doesn't bode well for what they're going to be seeing. Like if the past is any indication of what we have to look forward to, it does not bode well for what they are going to encounter in Washington D.C.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and I would also just point out that we didn't actually see Carol. We just saw Daryl.
Yeah,
Right.
we didn't see who came up from behind the leaves. So at least in this episode, we find out for sure that Beth was kidnapped, whatever. And one other thing, which I hate, is the splitting up of the group, which means now we're going to get two storylines, or possibly they break up into more than than just
I
the
mean,
two
they
groups.
just
Well,
got
even
back
more.
together
I know
again.
they just got back together. Now they're splitting them up, and now we're going to get
We're
there
gonna
may
get
be
the
there may be a week or
fucking
so
Beth
where we don't see
storyline.
Rick at all.
Yeah.
May just be concentrated on Abraham and Rosita, Glenn, and Maggie. You know, I don't know. It depends what kind of adventure they get into. We'll see. But I really hate when they split them up.
And I mean, like I was saying, like we're gonna get that fucking Beth crap next week,
Oh
which
yeah.
I have no fucking interest in Beth. She was kind of a waste of a character. She was kind of like interesting, sort of like via Daryl, like when they had the redneck brunch. But yeah, like I really don't give a crap. It seems like the next episode. I don't think you guys have seen Battlestar Galactica, right?
Yeah, I've
I've seen the
seen it.
first season. First season.
I don't know if it's in. I think it's in the second, but basically Starbuck ends up in a hospital just like in this episode, and it looks like something is being done with her, or someone's trying to convince her that
Ooh,
something's being
zombie
done to her.
baby. Maybe Beth has a zombie baby.
Uh, that actually might make her interesting, though.
Okay, well that's
Yeah.
what we have to look forward to, guys.
All right.
Malik, I think we're almost out of time.
Yeah. So absolutely, I'm looking. So I'll just say I am looking forward. I'm actually looking forward to the story of Beth. I feel like if it leads to more mayhem and more of what happened to Gareth and the Terminus people, I'm all for it. I'm completely on board. Let's do it some more. Let's spill some more guts if we can. So that's it for today. For Johanna, Joe, Lorenzo, I am Malik, and we are the Agents of Helm. Feel free to check us out on all the social networks and Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, everywhere. We are Agents of Helm and agentsofhelm.com, where you can listen to some of our recent podcasts and see some of our content. So, guys, have a great night. We will be back later this week to introduce Lorenzo's show. I think I got it right this time, right?
The Halloween episode,
Halloween
Thursday.
episode. We are at
We're gonna have it out on Friday. We're gonna have it out on Halloween. That's my goal.
Yep. So be on the lookout for that, and we will touch back with you guys later on. Have a great night. Peace out.
Peace.